Hi, this is Dr. Karen Wilson Starks, your host for the Voice of Leadership and for Dr. Karen Speaks Leadership. According to American Express, Black women are starting businesses at 6 times the national average. And even in spite of the challenges that Black women face, the double whammy of being Black and also being women, they have unique abilities, they have unique experience to share with others, and that includes the perseverance that it takes to be successful. Some of the issues that people of color face in general is having a lack of startup capital for their businesses. It's very difficult to get bank loans and to get the resources that are necessary because of both racial and gender discrimination, and especially in the finance and tech sectors. Nevertheless, Black women are some of the most educated groups of women out there in terms of the number and percentage of undergraduate degrees. And today I want to talk about a particular Black woman who is exceptionally successful. And her name is Janice Bryant Howroyd. She is the first Black woman to own a $1 billion company, and that's multi-billion-dollar company. It is the largest privately held minority women-owned personnel company founded in the United States. And imagine that, privately held as well. And you might wonder, how did she start this business and how did she grow it to over $1 billion? And that's what we're going to talk about today, a little bit about her story and how she made it happen. In 1978, she started a small office in Beverly Hills, California, a long way from her state of origin, which was in North Carolina. And she went out to California to do some work as an executive assistant, essentially, for her brother in law, who worked for Billboard magazine. And while she was there, he introduced her to lots of executives, celebrity people, and other partners who would be wonderful for her to know for what she ultimately would start. And one of the things she did is she noticed that even at Billboard, it was challenging to find the right talent and to get that talent working in the way they needed to work. Seeing this, she saw an opportunity and a way that she could make a difference in employment. And that's when she launched her staffing agency. And she wanted to help her brother in law's company be more successful. So he was the first client. As she worked with him, got successes, she reached out to other people, got more clients. She ended up at some point having clients such as the Ford Motor Company and also other companies of a similar kind of genre like Toyota. She worked in telecommunications, energy companies, some of the top ones as well. And what she noticed and how she sort of made this all work was that she would look around and find out what did her clients need next. And whatever they needed next, she would end up creating it. And that's why her company is called Act One Group, because it is a constellation of many companies that have been put together. So over time, she's had companies like Agile One, which focuses on management solutions that businesses need. She has the staffing company called Apple One, and she has A Check, which is a company that does background checks for the personnel. She noticed that her clients needed to have background checks and to create a secure environment. And one of her secrets to success and one of her success factors is making the candidate, the applicants, the focus of her attention. These are the ones who are looking for the jobs, looking for the postings, and her objective is to bring great people together with great companies so that they can make their magic together. So, in focusing on the applicant, one of the things she did, which was different from a lot of staffing companies at the time, is that she trained her applicants to meet the employer's expectations and to become and be a better fit. She said, we can teach that. We can teach them how to be a better fit. What she's looking for in the search, however, is the right attitude. People have to come with the right attitude. All the rest, she can teach and she can train. She also focused on both globalization, because she does have a global company, and glocalization. So not only was it global and paying attention to the regulations and all that pertained to global, she had to understand what was important in each local context where her applicants ultimately would be hired and where they'd be working, and where clients, in terms of the big companies and employers, what they would need in their workforce. And so these were some of the things that she paid attention to. And it's interesting, even though she had a wonderful Beverly Hills, California address for the company, it was in the front of a rug store. So it was not glamorous per se, but she did want a glamorous address that she could grow into and live into ultimately. So that was the first office. And one of the things she did to get traction in the marketplace, since she would have been an unknown at the time, is that she would say to her prospects and the employers, she said, I'm going to send you the right employees. And if they're not, and if they don't work out, I'll refund your money. That's how confident she was about the service that she could deliver. Now, how did she finance this operation? How did she get the capital? She started the business with $1,500, $900 that she personally saved, and $600 that she borrowed from her mother. So that was the seed capital that she needed to seed this business. She believed in herself, investing the money in this idea, and her mother believed in her too, providing some seed capital in addition to her own savings. And that's an important principle, because once she started the company, she realized that she needed other kinds of equipment, particularly tech-related equipment, even though she started with a phone and essentially a fax machine and some basic kinds of business tools. She had to purchase more, so she had to invest even more in that business in order for it to be successful. So in about 1990, she relocated the business to Torrance, California, and by 1997, it was already a $75 million company. And 10 years after that, she had offices in 75 U.S. cities. That in and of itself is amazing. When we think about Janice Bryant Howroyd, it's important to note that she really learned her basic values for life and business from home. And that's really important, because with that wisdom, by 2011, her company was number 3 on the Industrial Service Companies list, and it was a $1.4 billion company in revenue. And of course, it's multi billions at this point, but she had reached that point in 2011. So when you think about her backstory, she grew up in a small town in North Carolina. She was the fourth of 11 children, and she was born on the 1st of September in 1952 in Tarboro, North Carolina. The conditions at that time were very challenging and very difficult. It was a segregated place where she grew up. And in fact, she was one of a number of teens and children who first integrated the high school where she lived. The high school had been all white, and she was part of that first wave of African American children to desegregate that school. Even with this harsh background and this difficult background, her parents did not give her any excuses whatsoever. In fact, their wisdom to her was to turn your challenges into opportunities. And her number one mantra for herself was never compromise who you are personally to become who you wish to be professionally. So she had a real strong sense of ethics and who she was and what was important. And one story from her background is that she would get textbooks that were hand-me-downs from other schools. And I remember that experience because I also experienced that in my second elementary school, where I was getting the hand-me-down books from the white students and they had markings in them. They weren't always perfect. And in her case, pages were missing out of the textbooks. And so her father said to her, "You're smart enough to figure it out. Read the pages that exist, and then you research and discover what's missing." And then her mother took it to another level and said, "And when you discover what is missing, you write that down, tape it into the book so that you leave a better roadmap, a better textbook, a better pathway for the next person who comes behind you so that they won't have to read the textbook with the missing pages. You fill in the gaps." And her mother was a person who would also say, in order to be outstanding, sometimes you just have to stand out. And that's really what Janice's life was all about. It was standing out. She also very strongly believed in innovation. Innovation was really what kept her ahead of all of the others out there. And she took advantage of everything she saw. She realized when she had started working for her brother-in-law, first of all, that she had some specific skills. She was very good in leadership and in strategy and being a consummate problem solver. And that was going to really be a benefit to her being this uber entrepreneur, starting this company that would be a multi-billion-dollar company. And so as she was going along, she was one of the first in her industry to be on the World Wide Web. And that also proved to be an advantage. So she was one of the first staffing companies to be in that position. And that was in 1995. By 1989, she had opened her first office outside of the United States, and that was in Ontario, Canada. So she was very much on the move and quickly on the move. Over the course of her career, she has received numerous honors and accolades. The BET Black Entertainment Television, she received that honor as the Entrepreneur Award in 2008. From the National Association of Women Business Owners, she was in the Hall of Fame, an honoree there in 2011. And from the National Black College Alumni Hall of Fame, she was listed in that in 2015. In 2016, she was appointed by President Barack Obama to be a member of his board on HBCUs, Historical Black Colleges and University. She is a graduate of North Carolina A&T, and she's very proud of that legacy and heritage, what she learned there, and how she benefited from an HBCU, which is Historically Black College and University. In 2016, she was also the recipient of the Black Enterprise A.G. Gaston Lifetime Achievement Award. And if you don't know who A.G. Gaston is, look him up because he was an amazing entrepreneur who was also successful back in his day. Family life was also important to Janice. She had two children, and those two children, a son and a daughter, are now involved in the business with her as well. And that's a great thing that she brought them into the business. And her son is the president of Apple one of her companies, and her daughter does the online branding for the company. She was also married to her husband, Bernard Howroyd, from 1983 until 2020 when he died. So again, the personal relationships, the family relationships, also important, not just the business aspect. And she included her children in the business as well. In terms of what she does to resource the community around her, her business has never been all about her. It was really about building a better community and providing opportunities for others that she didn't have. When she was looking for jobs, she did not have what she now provides to the job seeker. So she wanted to give them what was an A plus high class experience that she herself did not have. So when she's giving to the community, she refers to it as giving forward rather than giving back. And she says, you give as you grow, not once you've made it. Give to others as you grow along. And she's always asking the question, what's next? How do I pay it forward? That's what's important to her. And she's had the opportunity to serve on many boards, including the board of North Carolina A&T, the Harvard Women's Leadership Board, and the board of the USC Marshall School of Business. And she's done a lot of campus work that keeps her millennial spirit alive. So again, she would say what's important to her is community success more than even individual success. So today, as I wrap up this brief overview of the career of Janice Bryant Howroyd, I want to just reiterate some of the leadership lessons that she lives by and that we also can learn from and live by. So, number one, and she has this up in her office, and it says again, never compromise who you are personally to become who you wish to be professionally. And I would say this is maintaining your personal integrity. And if your success is based on you compromising that personal integrity, Janice would probably say that's not really her definition of success. So that's number one. Number two, which she learned from her family, was turn your challenges into opportunities. Number three, I would say grow by providing the what's next that your clients need. So early on, when she discovered that her clients really needed some temporary workers, not just full time, she started staffing for that as well. So, whatever they needed and whatever she saw out there in the marketplace, she was paying attention so that she could be alive to that. Then, number four, innovate with few resources. She was a person who was used to not having a whole lot of resources. $1,500 is not a lot for starting a business. And yet she used that wisely, innovated with that $1,500, innovated with the resources that she had until she got more and more resources, more and more tech support and solutions for her business. And now there's no looking back. Number five, stand out to be outstanding. And she certainly did that. Number six, use your smarts to figure out what's missing. So when she got that textbook with missing pages, her father said, no excuse. You're smart. Go get it done. And she did. And then number seven would be give forward and leave a better textbook and playbook for the next person. She believes in the mentoring, coaching, advising, and that's what she does through her board service. And so she left things better for the next person, giving forward. And eight would be what I'd call invest in yourself. And she'd go beyond that, not just yourself, invest in your people, provide what they need, invest in your company, and have a mindset that's work forward rather than focusing on what's holding you back. Work forward. That's what she would say. Number nine, I would say build on your unique gifts and talents. Everybody has unique gifts and talents, and she came to know that hers were strategy, leadership, and also problem solving. Number 10 would be learn from live role models. She learned from her brother-in-law, learned from role models in books and role models in history. And one of her primary historical role models was Madam C.J. Walker, who was the first Black woman millionaire. And so she studied her and learned from her playbook as well. And that was part of her own success to get there. Janice Bryant Howroyd is also an author. She's written two books, and those books are The Art of Work, How to Make Work Work for You, which she wrote in 2009. And then she also wrote Acting Up, Winning in Business and Life Using Down Home Wisdom. And that book she wrote in 2019. And by the way, she would define wisdom as knowledge plus your experience. Knowledge plus your experience. We have a lot of people in our world today who have a lot of knowledge. They don't necessarily have wisdom because it's not married with the experience, and they haven't really leveraged the lessons from that. So Janice Bryant Howroyd is a remarkable and inspirational woman who is a speaker now, encouraging other people. She is an author, and she's left a playbook for the rest of us to pay attention to. So if you've never heard of her, do a little bit of study, a little bit of research, and be inspired by this woman who has created a multi-billion-dollar privately held company and business, which is a group of companies. So congratulations to Janice Bryant Howroyd. Thanks for being our inspiration today as we continue to build our own businesses. As I'm thinking today about Janice Bryant Howroyd, I want to just share with you familiar verses that come from Proverbs, the 31st chapter. And this is the chapter we often think about as the Proverbs 31 woman. And there's some language here that I think really does fit Janice, and I'd like to share this. And this is Proverbs 31, and I'm going to start with verse 13. And it says, she seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it, and from her profits she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. And that certainly can be said as true of Janice Bryant Howroyd, having excelled them all, having been generous to others, caring for the community, caring for the needy, caring for her own family and her children, and being willing to sell the best in the marketplace to make a difference for others. So we celebrate you, Janice Bryant Howroyd. Thanks for being the best. Hi, it's Dr. Karen here today, and I want to tell you a little bit about Spirit Wings Kids Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And it's an organization that provides profound services for orphans and for widows and families across the globe in many ways, and especially in the country of Uganda. So today I'm speaking with Donna Johnson, who is the founder of Spirit Wings Kids and also a board member. Donna, tell us about some example of the profound work that you're doing in Uganda.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Karen. We were just there a few weeks ago, and it's incredible. It's more than an orphanage. We have a soccer academy that keeps the boys off the street. We have a widows program that matches them with children. And it's just a thriving network of really entrepreneurs. And it's just been such a meaningful blessing to see the work that we're doing there.
You know what, Donna, what I love about what you said just now is you're really talking about their whole lives. You're creating families between the widows and the children. And you're also making sure they have recreation and something to do with the soccer academy. And you're looking at the job situation and the entrepreneurial aspect. And as a businesswoman yourself who's very successful, you're right in line with being able to make that difference. Thank you so much for the difference that you're making. And I'm inviting everyone who's watching and listening today to go to swkids.foundation and donate now. 100% of everything you donate goes to those people who are in need and who are receiving those services. Thank you so much for donating. And Donna, thank you for this ministry. You've been listening to The Voice of Leadership with me, Dr. Karen Wilson Starks. And I want to give a special thanks to jazz saxophonist Ron McMillan for granting us permission to use his gifted music on our show. Thanks for listening, and remember to go to my website, transleadership.com, for more strategies, insights, and leadership resources.